It's actually working. It's moved out. It looks like it's almost halfway. So I thought I'd record this because I've never used bread to fix my car before. I'm packing it in. This is the bolt that's about the right size. Put a little tape on it to make sure it has a better seal. A little more. And of course I'm wearing face protection and a dust mask for my nose, and I actually have a little towel on my chest because these particles are no fun trying to get them out of your clothes. And for women, out of down your shirt. Unfortunately, I have nowhere to place this phone, so I'm holding it, which is why it's shaking so much. I apologize. So, and now I'm hammering. Hopefully it's out. And the bread came with it, so I barely have any mess to clean up. Yay. Hopefully that actually caught on video. If it didn't, here it goes. And look, no mess. Maybe some crumbles, but it was packed pretty good, so I don't see crumbles really. I'll clean it out just in case. I'm about to install the new pilot bearing. Rubber mallet so you don't do any damage. And lithium grease for the external part of the pilot bearing. Pilot bearing went in pretty easy. And it's flush. I cleaned off the whole area with brake cleaner, or clean towel, clean gloves. You don't want to get any grease on the flywheel. It's apparently very detrimental. And I struggled with it, and I took the bearing out already, but the throwout bearing, there's this small pin. Now, you're supposed to turn the throwout bearing counterclockwise. Well, I'm sorry. Pull this lever so it pushes the throwout bearing forward, up to the spline, turn it counterclockwise, and that releases it off of this side of the lever. But you still have to deal with this pin. So it took some struggling and figuring out. I had it all the way off onto the spline, had it counterclockwise, and then when I finally got it unseated off this other arm fully, I turned it back clockwise and kind of angled it and jiggled, and it finally came off of that little pin, which I think is going to be the opposite procedure to put it back on. But it should be easier to put it back on. Comparing the old to the new, they're about the same size. I put them next to each other, trying my best without touching them together. But they're about the same size, same width. The bracket ends are at about the same placement. The only thing different is this one, that inner ring is the old one. The inner ring is sticking out. Now, on install, you're supposed to take this spline lubricant that came with the kit and put it on the inside of the throwout bearing and on the spline itself to make sure it travels smoothly. The other thing, and it's packaged at the moment, but make sure the gear or the spline matches well with the clutch disc under here. I already fit it on there and it fits fine, so I got the right one. The kit came with the right one at least. It was tough to get on there, but I found that when I moved the clutch lever forward just right, I could actually move the fork just a tiny bit towards the driver's side, enough to clear it to get the bearing past that pin. And then turned it clockwise, seated it on both of the forks, both parts of the fork, and then had to wiggle it to get it down the shaft. And I put the grease on the shaft, of course. And I believe I'm supposed to put a tiny bit there, I guess, to help guide it when I'm putting the transmission back in a few minutes. But next is going to be the clutch plate and disc. The specs tell me the pressure for the plate and the flywheel are about 20 foot-pounds, so it doesn't give me specifically for the clutch, so I'm going to go 20 foot-pounds. And there's a guide tool that goes with it. And everything at this point needs to be done with extremely clean gloves. This is the guide tool. On the disc it says flywheel side, so that means face up towards the flywheel, and the other side will go towards the transmission, which you can't see because there's paper in the way. And then the clutch plate itself goes on top of them, and you're supposed to tighten the bolts down one at a time very slowly before you start torquing. And of course crisscross the torquing pattern like you do when you install a tire, so you don't over tighten on one side more than the other. Now this is something pretty neat that I did not notice until I took the plastic off. Along the clutch plate, hand tighten only. Use a diagonal pattern to 17 foot-pounds. Well, that helps me out. So it's 17 foot-pounds. So I'm gonna have to adjust it to 17. Torque right. Clutch plate and disc are in place. All 6 of these bolts are torqued down to 17 foot-pounds. And I did realize that the numbers on the clutch plate were actually suggesting the tightening order. But as long as you do a crisscross, don't do ones next to each other, just keep going across, then it's fine. But all done. Now I'm ready to mate the transmission and put everything back together. I'm happy to say the transmission is mated and lined up. And all I need to do is bolt it down now. It did not take nearly as long as I thought, but because the throwout bearing took so long to figure out, it gave me time to process how exactly to align the transmission quickly. Of course I did forget the dust plate there for the flywheel, so I had to take it back off and slide the dust plate in there. But it's all good now. Okay, transmission is fully bolted. I don't know if I can get in there. Yeah, there's one of the 17mm nut, you can see it. So it's completely in. Bolts are all in place. I'm going to torque them down now. The specs for this vehicle are 51 to 72 foot-pounds. I'll probably put it about 60. And then just reverse everything that you did and reinstall. And clean up some of the oil. Got most everything back in place. Transmission's bolted up, torqued down. The starter, I can't really angle from where I'm laying down, but that's over there somewhere, and it's installed right about there. Clutch cable, that's in, connected. Speedometer cable, I haven't put the cross member in yet because it's making it so much easier to work on. Drive shaft, I think I got the angle right. Sorry, I'm under the vehicle right now, so it's a little hard to see. Not too many complications. Move the transmission jack out of the way just now. I am going to fill the transmission. Everything's been torqued. I made sure that I torqued that down. That's the drain plug. I removed the fill plug. There it is. I removed the fill plug so I can fill it up. But if you can see this, there is not a lot of room, and there is not really any room for a container. So I'm trying something new. Well, new to me. But one helpful hint, so you don't have a mess to clean up, put a drain pan underneath the fill port, because on a standard, it just you fill it until it backs up out of that fill port. So if you don't want a mess to clean up, put a drain pan down. So a tracker is recommended that you use 75W90 gear oil in the transmission, and this is a big bottle, so it's definitely not going to fit into there. And see that top? Take the cap off, and it comes to a narrow point. I'm going to cut the end of the top off, well, the point, and then attach this hose long enough to reach into the transmission from below. And you make sure you have a good seal when you put it on over the opening. This is kind of a small hose. I'd suggest for ease a bigger hose, but this is all I've got. And then the pressure from squeezing the bottle will fill the transmission just like that. Here we go. squeezing. But I'll fill it up all the way, and that should take care of that. The tracker started right up. Went into gear, backed off of the ramps without a problem. So far so good, going for a test drive. Went into gear great. Okay, first gear. Second gear. Third. It's great. No more grinding. Okay, I need to go back home now. Yay.